May I have your attention, please? If you haven't done so at this time, please sign in and please silence all cell phones and pagers. Thank you.
Good morning. This meeting of the Louisiana Tax Commission is hereby called to order. This meeting is being held at the offices of the Louisiana Tax Commission at 1051 North 3rd Street, Suite 225, Baton Rouge, Louisiana. The date is Wednesday, July 22nd, 2020, and the time is 10:04 a.m. Please call the roll.
Chairman Shahardi,
Here.
Commissioner Wagasback,
Here.
Commissioner Jeffers,
Here.
Commissioner Vercher,
Here.
Commissioner Wood, 4 present and a quorum.
Thank you. All right, there being no old business to take up at this time, we'll take up consideration of change orders.
Tanisha Malvo on behalf of the Louisiana Tax Commission. Today we have a total of 333 change orders. Staff has reviewed those change orders and requests to approve 323 and place 10 in pending status. Staff requests approval of these change orders.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion with respect to the change orders that we approve 323 and place 10 back in pending status as recommended by staff.
Second.
Commissioner Vercher,
Yes.
Commissioner Wagasback,
Yes.
Commissioner Wood is absent, Commissioner Jeffers,
Yes.
and Chairman Shahardi.
Yes. We'll now consider prior pending change orders.
Tanisha Malvo on behalf of the Louisiana Tax Commission. Today we have a total of 10 prior pending change orders. Staff has reviewed those change orders and requests to approve 3 and keep 7 remaining in pending status. Staff requests approval of the prior pending change orders.
We have a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I would move that we accept staff recommendation as it pertains to the prior pending change orders as presented.
Second.
Commissioner Vercher,
Yes.
Commissioner Wagasback,
Yes.
Commissioner Wood is absent, Commissioner Jeffers,
Yes.
and Chairman Shahardi.
Yes. We'll now consider tax sale cancellation.
Tanisha Malvo on behalf of the Louisiana Tax Commission. Today we have a total of 2 tax sale cancellations. They're both in Livingston Parish. The first one, the reason being the assessment listed was created in error. The lot was actually Lot 21 of Waterfront East, first filing. The properties were developed by the same entity, Blind River Properties, Inc. The property was also duly assessed to assessment number 0407072, in which the current owner is Darren and Candace Kinbrough. Next, the reason for this tax sale cancellation, the property was incorrectly listed as a 1-acre tract on the original deed. It was in fact only a .884 acre tract. When the property was sold, this assessment should have ceased to exist, but because of the acreage amount error, it was left with remaining acreage. This property was also duly assessed to assessment number 0431098. And Ormia Group LLC is the owner of the correct .884 of an acre. Staff requests approval of these 2 tax sale cancellations for Livingston Parish.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I move that we approve 2 Livingston Parish tax sales cancellation.
Second.
Commissioner Vercher,
Yes.
Commissioner Wagasback,
Yes.
Commissioner Wood is absent, Commissioner Jeffers,
Yes.
and Chairman Shahardi.
Yes. All right, at this time, we'll move into the appeal portion of the docket today. I'm going to ask first off, anyone who is in the room this morning who is planning on testifying today at the microphone, to please stand up at your chair and be sworn in as a witness.
I'll administer an oath. I'll then indicate to you to affirm the oath and state your name in the record. Please raise your right hand. I swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God. Your name? Aaron Schneider. Thank you.
I do, Tricia Schneider. Elise Lovat, I do.
I do. Eldon Washington.
Arthur Laughlin, I do.
Russell Rose, I do. Great, thank you. You can have a seat.
Thank you all very much. All right, the first appeal we'll hear this morning on the appeal docket is item E, the appeal of Elvin Montleone versus the Orleans Parish Board of Review, docket number 19-22171-050. Mr. Montleone, it's a taxpayer appeal, so I'd ask you to please go up to the microphone and tell us about your property. And I notice you have an appraisal of the property for $343,000.
Yes, sir, I did get one done.
I'm sorry,
Yes.
say it again?
Yes, I did.
Okay. And is that what you're asking us to?
No, no, sir, it's not.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Okay. So, I don't know what materials you have in front of you, but I submitted about 70 or 80 pages of documentation to support our position, and I'm going to try to make it less painful than that. I think we can, just look at some summary information, but we can dig as much into the detail as we want. And there's really two things going on here. It's a kind of a parallel related discussion. The first thing that is the backdrop of this whole appeal is the fact that when we bought this property, when we decided to downsize and get a condo, we bought the property. It's on St. Charles Avenue. It's in an area that floods occasionally, more now than it used to. And what happened is that it rained right after we bought it. It was like the week after we bought it. And it suffered water damage, and so it had hardwood floors. We had to replace the floors. It took time. And we lost track of the fact that our mail was accumulating at the new address. And this was right at the point in time that the notices were coming out about August 15th and all of that, being a deadline. So when I realized that all the mail had stacked up, I went and got it. I called the assessor's office. And what I was told is that there was going to be an extension of the August 15th date, but they didn't know how far the extension was going to go. And so I called back, I guess it was a couple of weeks later, and I said, so we're calling because we have to come and do our homestead exemption and an age freeze. And do you know what the new deadline is for that? And she said, the lady on the phone said, she said, oh, well, you don't have to worry about that because you can do those things retroactively even if you miss the deadline. I said, well, if you can do it retroactively, great. Then we'll go in when it's convenient. We could have gone in pretty much any time, but she said you could do them in arrears. Well, we showed up at the assessor's office, I believe it was early October. I think the deadline had just passed. I think the deadline was end of September or something like that. And we went in and we were told, well, what you were told was partially right. You can do the homestead exemption retroactively. You can't do the age freeze retroactively. So there was a miscommunication in some fashion when I was told, oh, well, you can do all that retroactively. So that is really my primary purpose in being here. We qualified under the income parameters and under the age parameters for the age freeze at the point that we bought the property. What I would have asked you for then is what I'm asking you for today, just average treatment in the building. We live in a building that's 220 units. And so, there's nothing special about our condo compared to anyone else. I would just look for average treatment. And I have a calculation that shows what that amounts to. And if we can get that done, if there's an appreciation of the situation that happened to us and we can get that done, we're done.
All right, so what is it you're asking us to do?
So the number in all of those spreadsheets that I offered to you, if you look at if you look at the 2019 assessed dollars per square feet, which I think is probably sheet number 3 for you, sheet number 3 in your package, the average that year in our building was right at $190 a foot. That's
Now, which,
it's the one that's titled
okay,
2019 assessed dollars per square foot, average and ranking. And I literally went through all the assessor's records. I pulled everybody's record in the building so I could do this analysis for you. And the average in the building was $190 a foot. At that point in time, as I said, we qualified under all the criteria for the age freeze. So if you take the $190 and multiply it by our square feet, then you come up with the number that, you know, I'd be asking you for as an assessment.
I'm looking at, I'm trying to find the number that you're talking about.
May I approach?
2019 assessed dollars per square foot average and ranking for entire building? Is that-
If you look at,
Here, I think, is what it's
Yes, okay. And where do you have, and where do you have the summary of what you say is the average value?
In the upper right of that first sheet.
Oh, that first sheet?
Yes, sir.
So that's $190.54?
Yes, sir.
And that's for the entire value of the unit itself, land and building
That's
portions?
land and building, and that's the average of all 220 units in the building. And roughly, that number comes up to 288. It was previously age frozen at 286 by the prior owner.
now, some of our information says that you're requesting a value of $328,000. Where did that number come from?
There's a lot of choices here, because a lot of different ways to look at it and a lot of different people looked at it. Your own staff appraised it at 348. I had appraisal done at 343. The, what do you call it, Board of Review?
Board review.
Had 360. And the real eye-opener, of course, was the first number we got from the assessor, which was 400,000, which, you know, there's no way it would sell for that. And my premise at this point in the discussion is on the basis that we qualified in every way for the age freeze and the homestead at the point that we bought it, we're given bad information, missed the filing date, I think, by 3 days or something. As it turned out along the way, we were very close to the filing date, even, you know, with the extension. And what I'm asking you is if you can consider that as a basis for using an average valuation at that point that we purchased the property, that would be our number one choice.
And I think the age-free issue is a legal issue that I don't think we can resolve as a tax commission. Mr. Chairman, is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct. We do not have jurisdiction over the age freeze. By law, that would have to go to court if the assessor was not granting you an age freeze that you felt that you were entitled to. So all we have jurisdiction over is the value of the property.
Okay?
So your equity argument that you're trying to make as far as the average value is a good argument if you can give us some more, you know, hone in on a little bit more on that information.
Well,
But you keep saying that it was at this spreadsheet was at the time of your requested age freeze.
yes, sir, that is data effective way back when, you know,
Right.
whenever all that was, yeah.
So this is a 2020 valuation.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And
So should we
I-
look at your 2020 average?
we can certainly go down that path.
Okay.
I
That's
think it's
gonna-
218.25 a foot.
That's, yes, yes. That's gonna involve a lot more numbers and a lot more of the spreadsheet analysis that I did. But we can go down that path. Of course, we're gonna arrive at a higher number.
But I
And-
think that number coincides with, I guess, your original request that was given to someone,
Right.
the 328,870. Because my math shows it's 328,902, if we're including land and improvements into that total valuation, which I think is what your spreadsheet does, correct? It includes the interior, exterior,
The common elements.
yeah.
Yes. Okay, let's walk through the data on the equity side. Let's walk through the data and see where we wind up with that. So if you just start from sheet one, the first thing I gave you was sales data at that period of time. And you can see that we paid an obscenely high amount for the unit, and there's actual medical reasons that we did that from my wife, compared to, we were $295 a foot compared to $235 a foot, which was the recent sold data at that point in time. Now, as a sidelight, and it's not in the package, and I know I can't introduce anything new here, but a realtor who lives in the building and sells more or less everything in that building recently told me that a unit just sold at $204 a foot. So that's a grain of salt, but it's an interesting observation as to where the market is today. If you go to the next sheet that says base valuation data for the entire building from the assessor's tax records, this is where I went through all 220 units in the building, pulled every tax record from the assessor's site, and you can see that where the ranking is in the last column, we're at a 40% increase year to year from 2019 to 2020. We went from 189 a foot to 266 a foot, which is a 40% increase, while the building as a whole incurred a 15% increase. So our unit went up 40%, the building went up 15% as a whole. Let's go to the next sheet. The 2019 assessed dollars per square feet. It's a 4 or 5 page section there, but what you find is that our unit, 212, was assessed in 2019 at $190 a foot, and the entire building was $191 a foot. I'm rounding off. So we were right in the middle of the range of the entire building in 2018 and in 2019. If you go to the next sheet, 2020 assessed value, you can see that in the entire building, we were the 5th highest dollars per square foot for all 220 units. Ours was number 5. And there's just no objective reason for that. It is my belief that the fact that we paid what we did, and knowing we were above market, because my wife has vertigo, she can't live up. She's got to be on the first floor. So we paid more for the first floor unit. The guy knew it. We were in a position to pay it. She wanted to live in that building, and a happy wife is a happy life. So I learned that in year 2 of my 51-year marriage. And so we paid the money, and I think it's being overweighted in the assessed number this year. I think there's an overweighting of that factor. It in no way represents the market as a whole. As we saw earlier, we paid the highest price of any sale made during that period of time on the first page. Then on the third sheet, we're the fifth highest dollars per square foot in the building, and that includes all the penthouse units that have St. Charles Avenue views and downtown views and all this stuff going on. We look
So, so with all that said, would you agree that 2018.25 for the two-bedroom units only resets the valuation for you at an average valuation?
It does. It resets it at the current average value for the building. And if we are not in a position, and you are legally not in a position for us to recognize the issue that we had
With the age freeze,
with the age
correct.
freeze,
Right.
then that's the best that I can ask you for.
And I think that's where I'm going.
I
Yeah.
just want to be treated as
Yeah.
average.
Yeah.
I'm not the fifth nicest condo.
Yeah,
in that-
I agree. I don't think you're at 265. You should be, I think the average is a good reset at 218.25.
I agree with you
Um,
at that level. And the 218, now, let me take you into one other thing, because it affects it slightly. So we had an appraisal done. So the appraiser comes out, and he's got his little laser thing. So he measures 1466. The tax rolls have us at 1507. So I don't know what you do with that, but it's in the appraisal that you have.
Yeah, I thought I saw a differential.
And
Yeah.
I don't know what you do with that or what I do with that, but there's a difference of, whatever it is.
Is there a
40
patio or a porch or something he didn't include?
No, sir, he just measured it, and the 1507 is kind of what the Realtor told us it was, on the listing.
So are you asking us to put the value based on what I'm reading here, 2020 average price per square foot for entire building, $219.10?
No, sir, I was looking at the
218.
two-bedroom.
218.25.
The two-bedroom average, we're a two-bedroom, and I was looking at the two-bedroom average of
And where is that at?
218.25.
Which spreadsheet is that?
It's going to be right behind the one I think you're looking at, Mr. Chairman. It's, up at the top, it's two-bedroom units only for the 2020 assessed.
Yes, sir, thank you.
And on the very far right, top of the very first sheet, that spreadsheet, it says
Yes, sir,
218.25.
that's exactly the right one, yeah.
And it's quite possible that your appraiser did a more accurate measurement if he walked the entire building.
Well, the appraiser probably took the condo docs as for the square footage. Would that be correct?
No, he physically measured. He used his laser thing and he measured the whole thing.
I'm sorry. He used
He used his laser measuring thing
inside the unit?
to measure it, yeah.
That's unusual. Okay.
Most of the time when they use the laser, they're doing square footage of interior space. They may or may not go to the center or to the outside of the exterior wall. There's a small discrepancy that
Right.
could very easily be the discrepancy.
I will tell you that he did do the interior. He
Okay.
did not do the exterior.
And then there's an argument that that's correct on a condo because you're really buying from the airspace from sheet rock to sheet rock.
Yeah.
But in
We don't
reality.
get a lot of use out of that. but
Yeah.
I get the point.
You've probably heard that argument before.
Yeah. Condo life is different. So if we can't do anything with the age freeze getting messed up like it did, then what I'm asking for is right at 320, and that is the 218.25 times the 1466 that he measured.
Yep.
Average.
Yep, your math works. I see that calculation.
Yep.
All right, well, thank you. Let's hear from the assessor's office, unless anybody has any more questions. Yeah, if you can go back to your chair, we'll hear from the assessor's office.
The assessor's office really doesn't have much to add. We hadn't had a chance to peruse any of the documentation submitted by the taxpayer. We feel that the tax commission staff appraisal is an accurate indicator of market value, considering that the taxpayer himself provided his own appraisal, which is right in line with the staff's appraised value. We request the staff's appraised value.
Thank you. All right, Ms. Labat?
So I appraised the subject property utilizing the sales approach to value, determined a fair market value of $348,000, with $318,900 attributed to the improvements and $29,100 attributed to the land.
Where'd you get your square footage
From the
information?
well, I use the assessor's website, and I contacted the assessor's office. They use the condo declaration.
Okay.
Mhm.
All right, any questions? All right.
think I have-
Yeah, sure, you can follow up.
So, if I understood correctly, that 348 was what was called a sales
Yes,
approach. And again, I would just restate that sales approach, if it factors in what we paid for the property, which we knew was way above market, then I would argue that that's being overweighted and doesn't represent the actual market. So that's the only thing I wanted to clarify.
What was your purchase price again?
445.
Oh, okay.
There's no question you overpaid.
There's no doubt.
Everybody here agrees with that. We're
Yeah,
just
no-
trying to find a compromise.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
it's unfortunate on the age for each.
yeah, we really got, yeah. We got some.
But I
very-
think you would probably still have been arguing, even with the age freeze, you would have been arguing value to a certain extent.
I would have been arguing just for an average value of the building at that point, which was $219 a foot. Or, no, the 190 a foot.
I think I'm prepared to make a motion.
please do.
My motion would be to defer to the taxpayer's original request and set the land value at $29,100, improvement value at $299,770, for a total valuation of $328,870, which reflects the 218.25 approximately times the square footage as noted.
I'd like to second that.
Commissioner Vercher,
Yes.
Commissioner Wagasback,
Yes.
Commissioner Wood is absent, Commissioner Jeffers,
Yes.
and Chairman Shahardy.
Yes. All right, thank you, Mr. Montleone.
Thank you all.
Bye-bye.
Sure.
Stay safe.
All right. Mr. Wagsback, can you repeat those numbers for me, please?
Yeah, it's, as noted on our briefing sheet, 29,100 and 299,770 for a total of 328,870.
328,870 for a total.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, it was,
And that's based on the 1507.
1507,
yeah,
that's correct.
it was within $100 of the actual
Yeah.
calculation, so.
All right. The next item that we'll take up, the appeals by Mr. Schneider. Let's start with item A. It's the appeal of Aaron Schneider versus the Orleans Parish Board of Review, docket number 19-22171-033.
Hi, I'm Tricia Schneider. I'm also property owners here as well with Aaron Schneider. And as well, I'm also a broker for the Louisiana Real Estate Commission, Real Estate Board. On part of this, For this one, we agree with the $144,000 that was assessed by the Louisiana Tax Commission appraiser change here. The reason we felt that it needed to change from the 160 was because when this building was built, it was short a couple parking spots, and so the rest of the units were actually sold with parking spots, but there's 3 units in the building that are not sold with parking lot spots. Being downtown and only having metered spots or having to go a block or two to pay $200 a month for parking definitely degrades the value of this property. So we are in agreement with the new appraisal done by the Tax Commission of 144. Any questions on that one?
Yeah, because I see they make an adjustment for that no cost.
Correct, yes.
Okay.
Okay. All right, thank you all. Unless you have some,
That's, yeah,
Yeah.
that's the first two. First one.
yeah, we have to do them one at a time, unfortunately. Okay. Mr. Alvarez?
The assessor's office feels that staff's recommendation is an accurate indicator of market value. We're okay with the staff's valuation.
Okay, thank you. All right, so we have the parties in agreement. Let's hear from Ms. Labat.
I valued the property utilizing the sales approach to value for a total fair market value of $144,000 with $38,500 attributed to the land and $105,500 attributed to the improvements.
All right, thank you. Unless we have further questions, do we have a motion?
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Jeffers?
I move that on docket number 19-221-71-033, that the 2020 fair market value be set at land at $38,500, the improvements $105,500, for a total of $144,000.
Second?
Commissioner Vercher?
Yes?
Commissioner Wagensbeck?
Yes.
Commissioner Wood is absent. Commissioner Jeffers?
Yes.
Chairman Shahardy?
Yes. All right, the next item, the appeal of Aaron Schneider versus the Orleans Parish Board of Review, docket number 19-22171-034.
So this is the exact same situation as the last docket number. We are in agreement with the Louisiana Tax Commission appraisal of 144 based on the same reason of not having a parking spot.
Ms. Alvarez, yes, please, go ahead.
The assessor's office is in agreement with staff's recommendation of 144.
I appraised the subject property utilizing the sales approach to value, determined a full fair market value of $144,000 with $38,900 attributed to the land and $105,100 attributed to the improvements.
Any questions? You have a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I would move on docket 19-22171-034. We set the land value at $38,900, improvement value of $105,100 for a total value of $144,000.
Second.
Commissioner Vercher?
Yes?
Commissioner Wagensbeck?
Yes.
Commissioner Wood is absent. Commissioner Jeffers?
Yes.
Chairman Shahardy?
Yes. All right. Next item, item C, the appeal of Aaron Schneider versus the Orleans Parish Board of Review, docket number 19-22171-036. Ms. Schneider?
Yes. In this case, we are actually in disagreement by the valuations made with the Orleans Parish Assessor's Office at $520,800 for both 2020 and the Louisiana Tax Commission appraisal at $516,000. We actually feel the property should be assessed at $356,800. The reason we do is because if you literally go to the left of our unit, penthouse 16, it is assessed by Orleans Parish Office for 2021 for $399,200. That comes out to $249 a square foot. This
I'm
property.
sorry, excuse me one second. You said, which unit is that?
Penthouse 16. It is literally, we share a common wall with this particular unit. He
And
does.
and the value for 2020 is what?
Value for 2020 is $399,200.
You You said 2021.
2021.
Yeah, so it was just.
Okay, well, we're dealing with 2020.
Well,
So-
the reason because it went down, because they fought their appeal and won in 2020. So they're neighbors of ours, and so it's showing for 2021, 399,200.
Do you think that's what they paid for 2020, or that was the?
That's what, for 2020, they were valued at 573,200. They said they won their appeal, so now they're down to, and it shows in the Exhibit A, they're down to 399,200 for 2021.
Also, that unit, just to point out, that unit, that also penthouse 16 is our immediate neighbor. It is 10% larger than our unit. It's roughly 150 square foot more. It has an additional bedroom, so it has space that we don't have.
It's almost like a 3-bedroom or a den could be used.
Yeah.
The upstairs is exactly the mirror image of our unit, but downstairs they have either a bedroom with a closet, so it could be considered a 3-bedroom, or you could use it as a den. We literally have a hallway that is 36 inches wide that goes to a stairwell downstairs. We do not have any room downstairs. So that does make a significant difference. This property's also been on the market, and I've talked with the real estate agent several times, for $499,000 for over 560 days. It has not had a offer on the property. The property, the agent and I, being a broker, are looking at the property's in the same exact condition as ours. It has not been refurbished. So in the comparable sales that the tax commission used, there was 2, sale 1 and number 2. Both of those properties have been totally gutted and redone to, today's standards. Our properties were, done when they were originally sold, other than paint on the wall to, deal with the scratches and things like that. Nothing has been done to these 2 properties. So this property, we feel, she's trying to get them to go down to $425,000 to be listed to sell somewhere in and around that range. Because after 560 days, they haven't had one offer on the property at $499,000. The other property that we feel is most comparable to this particular property is Unit 417. It actually sold June 14th of 2019 for $330,000. It was assessed by the New Orleans Parish Assessor's Office in 2020 and again in 2021, since that just came out. No change there, for $297,000. That brings the square footage down, based on the assessors, down to $230 a square foot. This is a sale as well that the appraiser did use as sale number 3 in her appraisal. It is a little less square footage than ours, but it is the closest as far as condition-wise to our particular property. The other property I took out here as well was there's a 920 Poifair Clock Tower A, that's what they call it. This one was assessed in 2020 at $469,000. The square footage is 1717. It's basically 4 doors down from our unit. This property, though, has been totally redone. It has a huge open 360-degree balcony area. It has a media room. It has a wine cellar. It has a gorgeous commercial kitchen with like double Sub-Zeros. We have the standard, pull refrigerators. They spent $75,000 on their kitchen. So this brings, when you minus the terrace and some of the square footage, it brings our property down to $359,000. So when you look at the first one, PH 16, Penthouse 16, based on that square footage, based on the assessor's office, it brings ours down to $362,700. When you look at the clock tower, it brings ours down to $359,000. And when you look at what recently sold that was also used as a comp by the appraiser, it brings our, if you take the New Orleans assessors, brings it down to $351,000. Or if you take the Louisiana Tax Commission, they valued it based on ours at $351,10. So when you kind of add all those together, that's where we're getting the $356,800.
So you average in those 3?
Yes.
Yeah. And I think it's, again, just key to point that our appraisal came at 516. The unit immediately next door to us with 150 more square feet and another room is It's on the market for $4.99 and has been for approaching 2 years with no takers.
Yeah.
Do you have any questions for us?
Do we have more questions? All right, let's hear from the assessor's office.
So we just got word of the taxpayers' exhibits this morning in the hallway. And I did a quick preliminary review as much as I could. As far as I could tell, Penthouse 16 did not have an appeal, so I don't know why they would say they won their appeal. There's no record of a board review or LTC appeal for 20. Looks like the valuation dropped substantially, and I don't know why that is. That seems to be out of line with other units in the building, so I think the case is not that the $399 for Penthouse 16 is a good value. I think that's there's some kind of error in our valuation for 21. I feel that our initial valuation, which was based on sales in the building at 520, is a decent value, was upheld by the board review value. Tax Commission's appraisal came in at 516, and we agree that staff's recommendation is a good value. I'm going to look into the matter
Well,
for 2021, but I don't know why that
Well, Russell,
one
she
value
also
dropped.
mentioned 2 other properties too.
She mentioned the property that was outside of the unit, and then she mentioned that other unit that was on the market. I'm not familiar with that. Like I've been able to do only a small amount of information because we received no exhibits from the taxpayer for us to look at and try to figure out why the value is the way that it is. So doing the best that I can with what I was presented. And what I'm looking at is that Penthouse 16 seems to be an erroneous value. That's all the questions the assessors, that's all the assessors.
Did you verify online that the value was reset to
I did verify on my phone.
$399,200?
Yes, and I made a note to look into it because that seems to be substantially out of line with what the rest of the values are in the building. I have no idea why it's valued at that, but there's only so much I can do on my phone in the hallway. If we received it ahead of time, maybe I could have looked into the matter a little further. But besides the point, we feel that BOR, the assessor's office, and the tax commission staff recommendation all being within line with each other, we feel that that's a more accurate indicator of market value.
Yeah, one valuation that appears to be out of line when you've got a whole bunch of others that seem to be in line would not be a cause of alarm for me. It's if you have it's really if you have a whole lot of them.
Yes, sir.
If you got, I don't know how many units in here, but if you got 100 units in here and one of them looks screwball,
Mhm.
but the other 99 are pretty much in line with each other, then, that doesn't concern me that one's out of line.
Yes, sir, but I still want to look into it
Sure,
and
no,
find
no,
out
I
why
would
it's like
suggest
that.
looking into it just to double check it.
Yes, sir.
But,
And this is one of the more larger condominium developments in the city of New Orleans.
So you don't think there was a reset for the whole building for 2021?
No, sir, there was not.
Do you think the taxpayer could have came and gave the information that it was on the market for a year, hadn't sold? I mean,
I'm sorry?
the taxpayer indicated that that unit has been for sale for quite some time, over a year.
Okay.
Do you think that may be the reason that it was reduced?
I don't think so. Normally, we don't try to value things based on what they are
Right,
listed for.
Okay.
Because you can list a property that's worth $200,000 and try to reel in a big fish at $600,000. Doesn't mean you're going to get it.
My house is for sale for $5 million.
I got you, okay.
Any
But,
takers?
and
You used that in one of your
I got
arguments. a
I
long
got
time
$5 million in the
ago,
back.
though.
Do I hear $5,000,001? Okay,
yeah, our office will definitely look into the matter and we'll try to resolve the issue.
sure. Okay. Ms. Labat?
So I appraised the subject property and I used comparables within the building. I believe that the property was listed in excellent condition previously, and so even though when I spoke with the taxpayer, she stated that there were some condition issues with the property based on prior listings, I qualified the condition as excellent, determined a fair market value of $516,000 for the subject property, with $42,900 attributed to the land and $473,100 attributed to the improvements.
Any questions?
Can I just add one more thing?
Sure.
So, I don't think.
Don't, wait till you get to the microphone.
For PH 16, I don't think it's that much of an anomaly, because if you look at PH 16, it's $249 a square foot assessed with the new value. When you look at Unit 417, which is again a 2-bedroom, 2-bath, so you're looking at similar type properties, it's assessed at $230 a square foot by the New Orleans Assessor's Office. That assessment actually didn't change between from 220 or 221. It was the same amount. It actually in 219, that amount was $314,500. So the assessor's office actually brought that property down, the third property down in value to 297. And the reason I could understand them doing that is because, yes, this is one of the biggest units in the warehouse district. However, it's one of the oldest units in the warehouse district. And there's a lot of new construction going on in the warehouse district. And the quality of the construction, the quartz countertops versus, regular countertops, the commercial kitchens versus the standard stuff that you buy at Home Depot is a big difference of what's going on. And so it's actually bringing our values down. And if you look at the overall value of in this building, you're seeing in the last year, pre-COVID, you're seeing between 5 and 10% reduction in the values because of what's available for supply on the marketplace.
I would actually put out one more thing, just clearly stated, again, probably restating the same thing, but Penthouse 16's been for sale for 560 days at $499, and it's 150 square foot more than we are. And it's clearly not selling at $499, and it's significantly larger in the same condition.
Not to delay things, I'm wondering if maybe we could take under advisement so we can do a little more homework on this building. I'll just throw that out there. I don't know if anybody wants to concur with that or not.
You want to make that a motion?
Yeah, I'll make a motion that we take docket number 19-22171-036 under advisement so we can kind of further study the valuation of this building and any impact that the 2021 assessments may have had on these values, et cetera.
Second.
Commissioner Vercher?
Yes.
Commissioner Wagaspat?
Yes.
Commissioner Wood is absent. Commissioner Jeffers?
Yes.
And Chairman Shahardy?
Yes. All right, well, thank you all. We're going to take a closer look at this particular appeal, this last one. All right? But thank you all very much for coming. All right, the next item on the agenda that we'll hear this morning, is item F, the appeal of Morrow House Condominiums versus the Orleans Parish Board of Review, docket number 19-22171-111. Mr. Laughlin?
Good morning. Arthur Laughlin on behalf of the taxpayer. We accept the LTC appraiser's value.
Okay, thank you.
The Orleans Parish Assessor's Office has no objection to staff's recommendation.
All right. Do we have oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Mr. Brown, I'm sorry.
I appraised the property using the sales approach to value, determined a fair market value of $367,000, with $6,600 attributed to the land, $360,400 attributed to the improvements.
And we're just using the land value that the assessor's office has, is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. All right, any questions, or do we have a motion?
Mr. Chairman, if I'm in line, I would move
Yes.
on docket 19-22171-111, that we accept the LTC staff appraisal, set the land value at $6,600, improvement value at $360,400, for a total value of $367,000.
Second.
Commissioner Vercher?
Yes.
Commissioner Wagglesback?
Yes.
Commissioner Wood is absent. Commissioner Jeffers?
Yes.
And Chairman Shahardy.
Yes. All right, the next item is listed as item G, the appeal of Home Win versus the Orleans Parish Board of Review, docket number 19-22171-112. Ms.
Good
Laughlin?
morning. Arthur Laughlin on behalf of the taxpayer. We accept the LTC appraiser's value.
Thank you.
The assessor's office has no objection to staff's recommendation.
Thank you.
I appraise the subject property utilizing the sales approach to value, determined a fair market value of $229,000, with $4,000 attributed to the land and $225,000 attributed to the improvements.
Thank you. We have a motion?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I move that on docket number 19-22171-112, that we accept the 2020 fair market value be set at the LTC staff appraisal, land at $4,000, improvements at $225,000, for a total of $229,000.
Second?
Commissioner Vercher?
Yes.
Commissioner Wagglesback?
Yes.
Commissioner Wood is absent. Commissioner Jeffers?
Yes.
Chairman Shahardy.
Yes. All right. All right, yes.
If it pleases the
Mr.
commission, item number D on the list, Mr. Dean Falgoose. I had contacted Mr. Falgoose previous to the hearing date about settling for the tax commission's value. He was in agreement. We had a verbal agreement. We just were not able to execute a settlement agreement. So I
Okay.
just wanted to let the commission know.
Sure. All right, well, we can, we'll have to go through the motions of the, of a hearing,
Yes, sir.
but it should move quickly. All right, well, you want to go ahead, let's do, yeah, let's go ahead and do that one next then. Item D, the appeal of Dean Falgoose versus the Orleans Parish Board of Review, docket number 19-22171-043. Mr. Falgoose is not here this morning, or on his behalf. I'll ask the assessor's office to come up and just repeat what you said to us just a few seconds ago.
Mr. Chairman, I contacted Mr. Falgoose, and we had a verbal agreement to settle for the tax commission's value. We just were not able to execute a written settlement agreement before the hearing date.
And the assessor's office is in agreement with the staff appraisal?
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
I appraised the subject property utilizing the sales approach to value, determined a fair market value of $714,000, with $22,700 attributed to the land, $691,300 attributed to the improvements.
Chairman, ready for a motion?
Yes.
Docket number 19-22171-043. My motion is to set the value of the LTC staff appraisal, which is land of $22,700, and the improvements of $691,300, for a total of $714,000.
Second?
Commissioner Vercher?
Yes.
Commissioner Wagglesback?
Yes.
Commissioner Wood absent. Commissioner Jeffers?
Yes.
And Chairman Shahardy.
Yes. All right, next on the docket is item H, the appeal of CM 171 LLC versus the Orleans Parish Board of Review, docket number 19-22171-190. No one here this morning on behalf of the property owner, so we'll ask to hear from the assessor's office.
Mr. Chairman, our office has no objection to the staff's recommended value.
Thank you.
I appraise the subject property utilizing the sales approach to value, determined a fair market value of $549,000, with $141,500 attributed to the land and $407,500 attributed to the improvements.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, Mr. Jeffers.
I move that on docket number 19-22171-190, that the 2020 fair market value be set at the LTC staff appraisal, land at $141,500, improvements $407,500, for a total of for a total of $549,000.
Second?
Commissioner Vercher?
Yes.
Commissioner Wagglesback?
Yes.
Commissioner Wood is absent. Commissioner Jeffers?
Yes.
And Chairman Shahardy.
Yes. All right, does that conclude our docket for this morning?
We have, I.
What's that?
Item I.
Pinagle, okay. All right, the last item on the agenda is the appeal of Louis Pinagle versus the Orleans Parish Board of Review, docket number 19-22171-191. No one here this morning on behalf of the taxpayer property owner, so we'll hear from the assessor's office.
Good morning. The assessor's office has no objection to staff's recommended value.
Thank you.
I appraise the subject property utilizing the sales approach to value, determined a fair market value of $230,000, with $21,500 attributed to the land and $208,500 attributed to the improvements.
Thank you. We have a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I would move on docket 19-22171-191 that we set the fair market value at $21,500 for land, $208,500 for improvement, total value of $230,000.
Second.
Commissioner Vercher?
Yes.
Commissioner Wagglesback?
Yes.
Commissioner Wood is absent. Commissioner Jeffers?
Yes.
And Chairman Shahardy.
Yes. Now I believe that concludes our agenda for this morning. Am I correct? All right.
J has been continued.
The last item, the appeal of George Hubbard, was continued. That's correct. All right. Have I read everything into the record?
Yes, you need to
The
accept it.
submission of exhibits this morning, did I read that this
No,
morning?
you have not.
Did not, okay. Just, again, everybody knows, but to put everybody on notice, it's the Tax Commission's policy to accept all documents into the record that were timely pre-filed in accordance with the Commission's rules and regulations. This will be done at the conclusion of today's hearing. Accordingly, there was no need for anyone to offer or introduce their exhibits into the record during their appeal hearings. No objections were lodged to the opposing parties' exhibits. As a reminder, this was an administrative hearing, and as such, the rules of evidence were relaxed. The Commission is inclined to review and consider all evidence submitted and to accept such evidence into the record. The Tax Commission hereby accepts all pre-filed documents and oral testimony into the record as Taxpayer Exhibit 1 in Globo, Assessor Exhibit 1 in Globo, and Louisiana Tax Commission Staff Appraiser Exhibit 1 in Globo for each appeal hearing conducted today. Unless there's another matter to come before the Commission at this time, I will accept a motion to adjourn.
I move adjourn.
Second?
Commissioner Vercher?
Yes.
Commissioner Wagglesback?
Yes.
Commissioner Wood is absent. Commissioner Jeffers?
Yes.
And Chairman Shahardy.
Yes.